Hello, everybody. Welcome to episode 9 of ZK Live. Last week we had Steph on from Pro Image. That was awesome. Today we have Zack from Dettmore 101. He'll be our first non-painter. He's a general contractor out of New Jersey.
So, what are we talking about today?
I want to talk about painting. I want to talk about business. I want to talk about contracting in general.
All right.
I'm very interested in organization because I think you have that down pretty well. That's not my strong suit.
I don't know. You were just going on about the clipboards. That sounds like a good situation.
Yeah.
So I was trying to do my hair when you invited me in, and I was like, crap. So now I'm like, I got to get it right. Now I just look like I stuck my finger in a socket.
It's a good look, though. You know.
It is.
Are you maintaining it yourself?
My wife is.
Nice. My wife's been dying.
She's got the sides going, but this just keeps going up and up.
I heard that you said you're just going to keep growing it till it's over.
Yeah. We'll go in like full metal band situation.
That's awesome. My wife keeps asking to cut my hair, and I've gotten a couple underground haircuts. I'm not quite. Like, I don't know. I'll let her cut my hair. She's so excited to. And
All right. So,
yeah. Can you just tell the people who don't know you a little bit about what you do, how you got started? I'm interested. I don't know if I know the story.
Sure. I'll give the abridged version. Basically, I was homeschooled, a term until recently most people didn't know. So people were doing that before now. And what that allowed me to do is sort of follow what I wanted to do. So I knew I wanted to be in construction at around age 8. And I knew I wanted to have a business at some point about that age too. So I went to a timber framing school in Maine at 13, got a job working for a friend of mine's uncle, worked for him for about 10 years, bought a house at 17. It was a piece of junk. That was 2006. It lost all its value, made every mistake. Started my company then, doing like odds and ends. And then it was sort of like right before zero VOC paints were coming on the market. And there was like, I think it was called Eco Coat was like the only one you could get. I don't know if you ever used that.
I don't know it.
Like this is OG green paint. So I was like, I'm going to make a painting business called Painted Green where we only use zero VOC paints. And so I started that, but like right when I opened the company, like Sherwin-Williams came out with a paint and Benjamin Moore came out with a paint and they all started offering it. And it's sort of, I was just like, wow, I'm not doing anything different now. So I was gradually taking on projects. You know, I'd paint a house and, you know, people would say, oh, can you do this? Can you do that? And I was like getting professional with the painting, but I also wasn't really charging enough because I was insecure and I looked like a child because I was one. And also the market, you know, was pretty rough at the time. People didn't have a lot of money. So I was trying to do a good job, not charging enough. And I would get that whole situation where I would charge too little. I'd come in, the room would be full of masking tape with every little imperfection. And I would say like, oh, well, we were gonna fix major imperfections, not minor imperfections. That would be like with the skin coat all your walls. That obviously wasn't included. Oh, you thought it was included. And then, you know, we'd be like doing a lot of work for free. And I was just like, I'm done with painting. This is making me crazy. So basically, you know, started getting into bigger projects. And the painting really served me well because we always sort of had our eye on the finish. And just gradually, you know, kind of kept doing nicer and nicer jobs. And now it's just 3 of us in the company. And we just do mostly interior renovations.
I had no idea you started out painting.
Really?
I did know that. I didn't know that at all, but I did know that you cared about quality painting, and so that piqued my interest. Most generally, I would say most general contractors that I know don't really care that much about the painting. It's just like one other thing. Generally, they care more about carpentry. You know,
Right.
most GCs are carpenters turned general contractors. So they love to get into the quality carpentry, and then it's like, oh, just paint it. Generally, we have a few that we work for that care about paint. So that, I guess that makes sense. I can tell you that I also, in college, in one of my business classes, I wrote a business plan for a green painting company where we were going to recycle everything. Like, I wrote the whole thing out. I was like, this is going to be so genius. Oh my God. And then I had the same epiphany that you did of like, oh, this isn't that special. And I don't think I could actually sustain this as a business.
Yeah. Wasn't special enough to run a business off of.
Especially more expensive to really, and the paint sucked for a long time. It's gotten better, but.
Oh yeah, this eco coat stuff I was talking about, it was like rolling on water. Like I was like, I wonder if this will seal in the toxic chemicals I need to use in this like Kills primer, because it just, everything comes through this paint.
I can also really relate to your experience with not charging enough, doing quality work, and like I talked about this before, now that we're more expensive and we're more professional, we get way less blue tape on the walls. When I was young and cheap and passionate, but didn't know any better and not professional in other ways, I got blue tape all the time. It's like common. Of course, the end of the job, you got to deal with the blue tape. I haven't had blue tape on a project for years now, knock on wood. So that is definitely, when you're young and not making any, they come at you with all of the things that you didn't do right.
Exactly. I remember coming into a job that, I had like 1 or 2 halogen lights that I got at Home Depot at the time, and I came in the next morning and it looked like the Super Bowl was happening in this room. The homeowner had set up all these lights, and I was just like, oh, like you could see everything. And I was like, oh no.
Yeah, I had the flashlight when the client goes around in the dark with the flashlight, and you're like, wait a second, I did not sign up for this.
Yeah. I had a clause in my painting contract that said something like, under normal lighting, I can't remember the exact vocabulary, but it was something like that, where after that experience where I was like, I can't have this happening.
Yeah. PTA has standards, and I believe it's like 6 feet away from the wall in normal lighting. If you can't see it, then you're getting,
that's nice.
When you're, that's just like, are you gonna pay me to paint something? Like, oh, this is awesome.
Yeah, I was charging like $150 a room at one point, and that was walls, trim, and ceiling, and that included me moving the furniture.
That's unbelievable.
Yeah.
I think I had a lot of PTSD from those days, and so I was like, well, now I want to be the most expensive, and I had to figure out how. Like, what am I going to do that's going to make people want to pay me what it costs? So I think it was good. Those difficult times like helped mold what we do today. I would imagine probably the same thing for you.
Yeah, I mean, one of the questions I had for you is I recently hired Lazarus, who had a painting company, and he was the first painting sub I've ever hired that did painting way nicer than I did. And I was like, oh, I'm pretty good. He was way better, and luckily he was willing to come and work for me. And now we're sort of getting into the finishes, and I've asked you questions about how to do that. And now I'm sort of scratching my head like, man, now I have to sort of figure out how to sell this, because we've done these higher end finishes in some homes, and I'm like, I don't want to go back to, but at the same time I have to charge more. Stuff's expensive.
It is, and there's a lot of labor that goes into that.
Yeah.
I mean, I think samples are huge. Like, we definitely, samples help sell, but I mean, and that's the other thing I want to talk about is the social media thing, because social media helps us sell a ton. We're sort of half sold when we walk in the door because they've already watched our process.
Right.
So I think you could do that too, is like break down even into more depth your painting process and have like a highlight on your Instagram that's just like, here's our painting process.
You know why I don't do that, this is a totally ridiculous reason, but because there's people like you out there who I follow, I almost feel like I'm like, well, because my page I'm more geared towards people learning. I'm like, well, why just follow ZK? Why are you learning to paint on my page? Like, I'm watching his page to show you on my page.
Yeah. So how much of your business comes from social media and stuff? Is it a big part of your business?
It is now. It's probably it's getting close to 50%. It's been, maybe it was 10 and 20 and 30 and 40, probably 40% now. But the rest is still, referrals.
You find that, so I find personally, most of my business that comes from social media is a strong referral. It's the client telling their friend through sending Instagram posts versus like, oh, I had this great painter like card, and like maybe you get the phone call, maybe, and then there's no trust at all built yet, and you go through the whole thing to try to build the trust. Where now, I mean, but I don't think I've done a job in a long time where the client didn't already follow us on Instagram and like know what we were doing. It's definitely been awesome for the referral.
Yeah, it definitely, you sort of have that trust there that just makes the sales process so much easier. It's not, there's less of this, and I don't know if it's as bad with painters, but there's definitely like New Jersey contractors, like we're all crooks type of stigma that I have to like, trust me, please, just tell me your budget. I'll work with you. I'm not gonna manipulate you, but there's a certain like, Instagram definitely helps. So I'm like, hire me or don't hire me. You know what we're about. And that is so much better than it used to be.
Yeah. There's no better feeling ability to say nothing. And that's how we're at that point now where like I tell everyone on the phone, like we're going to be the most expensive. We're also going to be the best quality, probably the best experience, I hope. So, if price is a thing, I'm not even going to waste your time or my time. And, there was a long time where anyone who called, I would do anything for the job. So it's definitely gives me that ability to like pick and choose.
So that's a big statement right there. If you're picking up the phone and saying we're the most expensive.
Yeah.
I haven't got there yet. I say we're not the cheapest. We're on the higher end. I dance around it, but I'm not like.
I'm just like, here it is. because your bit like my business, like painting especially, can get so grinded down. The barriers to entry are so low.
Right.
I mean, I started with a paintbrush and a little giant and a Ford Taurus, and the poor guys who had to compete with me, I'm $15 an hour, and I'm passionate, and I want to give a good job, and I'm like crushing, like giving these amazing jobs. Like no one could compete with me, but I also wasn't sustainable, and I had no money. But,
right.
I feel bad, and I talk to people now who ask me questions about stuff, and I'll be like, well, what are you charging? And they'll tell me, and I'll be like, well, you're an asshole. Like
you're bringing the whole thing down.
Yeah, like this is not cool. Like you're not being nice. Like if you want charity to somebody, give charity to someone that needs it, not someone who wants to save some money on kitchen cabinet repainting.
Yeah,
ones to give the charity to. But I also I made a decision one day that I was like, I want to get paid to do high quality stuff, and the standards, like we're just doing such above average paint jobs that we end up being the most expensive. I don't know.
I'll try, brother.
Leverage in your social media, like it's there, and it's just like you post every single day. My face, here I am. Like you do the same thing. Like if anyone doesn't follow you, they should, because honestly, I laugh out loud just about every time I see you on there. Like you have.
I don't know what you're talking about.
Your sense of humor is a beautiful thing. So keep doing it, but it's consistent, and it's like you, right? It's just Zack. So clearly you every single day. What better way to build trust than that?
Right. Yeah, I think for me, I still like it. It took me a while to sort of understand that people were willing to spend money, and even that still like it still feels wrong to me. Like I was selling a job yesterday, and I came up with an idea that was like $20,000 more than what I knew the budget was, and I was like, oh man, like they're not going to go for this. And then I was talking to a mason to do my backyard, and he suggested something that was way out of my price range, and I was like, let's do that because it was so awesome. And like that just clicked in my head. I was like, oh, people are willing to spend more money for nice shit.
I've had that. I've talked about that. I had that epiphany too of like, the idea that I'm not my ideal client. Like I can't afford a $5,000 or $6,000 paint job on my front door.
Yeah.
So it's time to start thinking like my ideal client.
Yeah.
You know, and maybe they have the money to spend. What if I gave them the option to do a $6,000 front door? What would that look like if I had that budget? What could I do?
Right.
And I've been working that muscle of get out of your own way. You're not your client.
Mm-hmm.
Person want. And as a professional, my job is to give you the options. You can walk me back, but I take pride in like I know my craft to a level where I can offer you a Lamborghini, and not everyone can. But so if
Right.
you have my A and you compare it to the other guy's A, yeah, our prices are going to be way different. But we're also doing absurd amount of prep work if required. So yeah, I think that idea of like putting yourself into their shoes more helps.
Yeah. I like the vocabulary of like exercising that muscle, because it really is. It's you have to put work into that, because it's so easy for me to default back to like, sure, we could do a kitchen for $40,000, and I'm like, what? You could paint a kitchen for $40,000.
I just gave a price to repaint a kitchen for $40,000 2 days ago.
Yeah, no problem.
Yeah, it's just like, well, what do you want? Like that client also, you know, it fits the level of every other finish in their home,
Mm-hmm.
their budget. So if you go, well, I have $40,000 to spend on a kitchen, what could that look like? I have something. I don't think I have something at 80. I don't think there's any more value from 40 to 80. I can't get you much better. But I have 40, like I can give you a car paint job on your cabinets. Like it will be perfect.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
That's pretty good. Yeah, I remember years ago someone said to me they're like developing that eye for luxury, and it's definitely been a practice effort for me where I'm looking at something and I'm picking apart the details, and I'm like, okay, that's the eye on the prize. That's what that person's doing differently than me. That's making their project look that much better. I'm not even sure what I'm looking at that makes it look that much better, but it looks so much better. And a paint job is really huge. It's like the first thing I judge when I walk into a house. But
like a good example of it is like you running air machines during projects for a GC, right? Like there's still plenty of GCs who aren't running air. They're using shop vacs, and clients are just like, well, yeah, you have to like call a cleaner in after because there's a thin film of dust over the whole house.
yeah,
But it's
toxic.
what if I was maybe I just run an air machine?
Yeah.
And so I drive down the road all the time thinking about like, what is the air machine? What's the next air machine I can buy? What is the next like thing I can do to be different and add value to people who want quality? They want like super customer service. They want ease. They want an amazing paint job at the end of the day. But like,
Right.
what are those other like just put an air machine in the room kind of things that, you know, when we grow up working for other guys, they didn't do it. So we just assume, you know, this works, keep doing it.
Yeah, they're successful. They've been in business for years. That's the way to do it. And you got to unlearn all of that to kind of surpass them.
Totally.
Doing a lot of hands things here. It's a rave.
So tell me about how you got in. Have you always been as organized as you are? Did things like happen that made you just want to get organized the way that you are? and then I have more questions after that. But
Okay, I'll answer it in broad strokes. So I have maybe it's ADHD, maybe it's whatever, but I don't function well in chaos. I get like bogged down very quickly. So when things are like in their place, all of a sudden I get super productive. And when like something is on the floor, I drop more stuff on the floor, and it all just converges into like a pile of crap. So I have very like bipolar messiness, super clean, messy, super clean, and that's sort of my how I work. And when I'm in those super cleans, that's when you see like some of my best ideas. And then the messy, I don't really post as much because I'm like, I can't even pull my phone out. It's a disaster. But I've been like kind of obsessed with organization for a long time, and I really enjoy it. I like love thinking about how things could go together and how we could save a second by moving that tool here or shifting things around. It's fun for me. And it's also what's allowed me to sort of keep my prices at a reasonable level, but also deliver a better finished quality because we're not running around looking for a paintbrush or running out of caulking or what have you. We kind of have what we need to do the job, and those things are in place and easy to find. So it's helped me be more profitable, and luckily it's kind of interesting.
yeah, I can understand how that would be the case. I look at it. I mean, that's probably the first thing I saw from you on Instagram years ago was your organization, and I like I just don't. That's not a muscle I've flexed very much at all, and I'm lucky I have a team now that's putting those things into place. Uh,
Mm-hmm.
but like the way everything has its own place is beautiful. I come from a long history of just like stuff everywhere. Just buy more tools and just have three of the same tool, and you'll eventually find like it's just not. I've spent all my time figuring out how to sell jobs for more money than
Mm.
do them efficiently. I think you can figure out how to make money one way or the other, and ideally you do both at the same time and be incredibly profitable. And that's where I'm sort of turning my focus to now is, all right, we get jobs at good prices, but we still don't make very much money. Let's start to get efficient. And so I look to guys like you, and it's like, oh, well, obviously, I'll just make everything have its place, and we'll spend the time. Because I think you probably spend a lot of time setting up your organization, right?
I do, and sort of the goal I'm working towards is 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 simplicity with everything, and trying to shorten that employee training time and that time rummaging for stuff that people are getting paid for. Because as you pay people more and more, it really hurts you uh, more and more when they're roaming around looking for something or show up at the job site and something's not in their van because you know, whoever took it out the night before. So it it's something I put a lot of time into it, and I'm blessed that I actually enjoy spending that time. But I think it's so easily overlooked by small businesses. Yet you won't walk into one Home Depot, Lowe's, Chick-fil-A, you name a big successful business, and they're not just like these go here today and tomorrow that goes there. It's always labeled perfect, exactly where it's supposed to be, and I know that's the only route if I want to grow. It's got to be like systematic, and I'm getting to the point now where we're eliminating really useful tools that I thought were important to me for tools that are I'd rather have doubles of. So a good example for you is like I have the big 6-inch Rotex,
Yeah.
and I'm like, why do I have the 6-inch paper when I can run the ETS and all these other sandpapers with the 125 and it's all the same size sandpaper? Yet there's this big case that seems very important to me. Yet it'd be quicker to just have two of those sand, and I'm only having one sandpaper, and then it just takes more time to hit a big surface, which I'm not doing that many big surfaces anyway. So like I think when you get into business, it's like, I need this very specific tool. And now that I'm getting away from it a bit, I'm like, let's see how much we can do with this one paintbrush, and we'll just have 40 of them. And if one breaks, we'll throw it out.
Yeah, I that's exactly what I'm doing these days. And Nick Slavic, I had him on. He's like the king of that. He's grew his company to 20-something, 22 painters, and the average painter has like the average in his company of experience is like a year and a half, and the most is like 4 years. And
Really?
he's been able to do it. He's famous for his apprenticeship program, and the whole way he's been able to do it is he has these incredibly simple systems. He has pictographs for like what's supposed to be in the van. He has a pictograph
Really?
of like everything. It's so simple, and I'll talk to him and I'm like, oh,
That sounds amazing.
it's amazing. Oh, you'd love Nick. He's just so intelligent and so disciplined, while also letting like the creativity come in. But he doesn't want to hear about like, oh, some new thing. He's like, it's the bar for him to add a new tool, paint, filler, you name it, to his process is so high. Because he's like, I have this thing that's working because it's simple as could be. So if you're going to add something in here, it better absolutely blow the doors off of what I'm doing, not be an incremental bit better, because it's going to blow up my whole system.
Yeah.
Like, to guys like me, like, I'm like, oh, I should really do more of that. Because for a long time, I've been like, what's the best thing? What's the best? Like, we'll just try that. We'll try that. Like, you never get efficient when you're always doing like trying to find best practice with the best tool. So I like that.
Yeah. Like when Festool released the new MIDI vacuum, I was like, oh man, I got to go out and buy a bunch of the old ones. Cause like we have those bags, and I'm not going to go out and have two different MIDI. Either I have to get all new ones or all old ones. You know, it's just when you're trying to like find a place for everything, all of a sudden it gets all confused when you're like, I have one of every vacuum. It's like, no, it's got to be simple. And
you found out that the bags weren't the same.
yeah,
I was so pissed.
that was disappointing. I came in and I was like,
yeah. I'm not sure we have actually found replacement bags for it. No, I think we finally did, but it took like a month or two to get the bags for the new MIDI, because there weren't MIDI bags. They're mini bags. And you're like, so I just bought one of those CT15s. We'll see how that works. I hope it's a MIDI bag.
oh, the cheaper one.
Yeah.
Well, if it is, let me know, because I had my eye on that, but I was like, what if it's a third bag? Then I'm really screwed.
Yeah. And if it's a third one, then I'm just going to hand it right back. I give up. I've been the same way with the paper, especially because we have such a wide variety of grits that we'll use. And I didn't have any money for so long, like still don't, but like when I first got my Festool, it was like, okay, which one am I going to get that's going to be the most value? And like many people, I went to RO90 first because it did so much.
Which is an incredible tool for painting prep. Oh my gosh.
I have a buffing wheel on it, so I'll take up to 8,000 grit with the buffer, and then you can put like 36 grit on it and grind right after. It's a phenomenal tool.
It's amazing. I don't know why I just didn't see the value in that. And then Lazarus put me onto it, and I bought it, and I'm just like, what was I doing? Hand sanding all of this stuff.
We took the triangle extensions. They have the one that actually sticks out farther and it doesn't have suction. And we shaved the corners off of it so it's narrow to get between spindles on decks and stuff.
Yeah.
And just like little things like that, you can do anything with the RO90. So when I got it, I was like, okay, I can get an RO90 because that's like one kind of paper. And then I think we finally got a 5-inch sander for the first time, but it's shop only. I was very hesitant. But we never had a 5-inch. It was all 6 inches everywhere. So at least all the paper was interchangeable.
Right.
Because it starts to add up price-wise and complexity. It's like, which one did we run out of? The square, the iron-shaped one?
Yeah. It's a nightmare.
It's crazy. Yeah. So how about business advice for like young people or people that want to maybe start their own business? What were some of the like hardest things you had to learn? What do you tell people when they ask you?
Um, that's a good question. I think I would encourage people to follow what their strengths are, and try and figure out the difference between what their strengths are and what their passion is, because you can have all the passion in the world, and if like, I'm never going to be an elite swimmer, it doesn't matter if it's my dream, right? But I'm good at like figuring out how things go together, and I'm relatively charismatic, so I can sell a job. And that's sort of what's good about renovations for me, is I can find a real mangled house and like figure out, oh, this is how it goes back together. And I think you have to play to your strengths, and then get specific. My biggest regret in life, which I think is going to be chronic, because I get very distracted and I always want to chase a harder, more complex job, and I think that's just the way I am. But um, just not being more specific and sticking with the painting company, or sticking with only doing bathrooms, or sticking with whatever it is, because the more simple your business is, the more easy it is to streamline and teach people how to do it. And if you're jumping around, that fear that happens at first, like I have to take whatever comes my way. You're just postponing your eventual success by not specializing. And typically, if you're starting young and you've got the support of your parents' basement or whatever it is, that's a great time to be like, nope, I only put blue wallpaper on the wall. That's it. So I think have that, don't be afraid to grow, but be specific. Even though I'm hypocritical saying that.
Now, I totally agree. When I first started, it was if you're going to pay me to do it, I'm doing it. So
Mm-hmm.
every job, I was buying new tools. So there goes any profit you ever are going to have, because I need 4 new tools to do this project over here. Uh,
Exactly.
there's no efficiency because I've never done this before. Maybe I did it once. So
Yep.
you're inefficient. It's like, and you don't specialize, so you're not going to get top dollar because it's not something you do all the time.
No.
So like, all 3 things just lined up to be, this is horrible. And I finally looked around my garage and was like, I used that tool once. I used that once. And I made no money on any of these. And I'm never going to do another one for a long time. Why don't
Mm-hmm.
I just stay in my lane? And that's when I decided, like, we were only going to use fine paints of Europe. We're only going to do high quality. And, it's definitely working out. So I think that's a great piece of advice.
Yeah. I mean, you're killing it over there, and you're growing because you can teach people your system. But if you were like, so here's how you apply fine paints of Europe, and here's how you grout a floor.
Yeah,
Like, what?
totally. But that's what I used to do. Like, oh, we're going to sandblast this deck tomorrow. Like, rent the sandblaster. I went through like 5,000 extra pounds of sand because I had the wrong nozzle on. I had no idea. We were blasting like thin spindles on a metal railing, and we had like the big tip for doing like 4x8 sheets. We were emptying sand like this, and my whole career was that for so long of just like doing things I had no business doing.
Yeah.
But the things change, hopefully.
For me, it was the first HVLP I bought. I've only used airless sprayers, like with my previous employer, and then for myself, and I'm just volume, volume, volume. I did a lot of commercial jobs, and I got good enough at it. And then seen on Instagram, oh, it's HVLP, buy this Fuji, blah blah blah. And it was like, I wanted to do this kitchen I'm sitting in, because I did like a reface of it, and it was oak cabinets that were all gross, and I was like, I'll spray the oil with the HVLP, it'd look amazing. And like, I used it that once, and I was so angry with like mixing and the wrong tip, and the viscosity was wrong, and I had to fill it every 2 seconds, and it's just rotting in my garage. And like, I go up there and I'm just like, oh, I hate that I bought that stupid thing.
Yeah, but I think you learn from it. And so, do you only do kitchens and bathrooms now?
So we pretty much only do projects that involve a kitchen and bathroom. So we're doing one project that's a kitchen, bathroom, living room, dining room, and then we've got one that's this full basement, kitchen, bathroom. We put an elevator in it, deck, big thing. So, like, basically the way I say it is like, if there's not some complexity, we're not going to be competitive. Any idiot can put like a great room on or a nice master bedroom, and we're not really going to be cost competitive because there's no details for us to really execute on. So it's pretty much, if there's a kitchen or bathroom, we'll do it, and we'll do it well. But just hire anyone if you want like a sunroom edition. Not that there's anything wrong with sunroom edition.
Yeah, but again, speaking to like what are your strengths? That makes a lot of sense.
Yeah, chaos, glutton for punishment.
Feel you there.
So tell me about the clipboard system.
Yes. So up until today, I would tell Dan, and maybe I'd put it in Slack, but not every time. That's another problem with this. That's not a system. I would just be like, okay, here's the project, and that one's white dove, and then this cabinet job over there, that's decorator white. And if that's kind of how it goes and it moves too quickly, like, you can keep that in your memory and get the job done.
Right.
But we found a couple flaws in the system when the door was in our shop for like 7 months, because the first doors came, we painted 2 of them. The third door, 2 came from the job site. We painted them because they were here and they just needed to get them to us. And then the third door was the new replacement front door. It sat in our shop for like a week and started weeping sap. And we were like, you shouldn't have your brand new door weeping sap. Like, that doesn't make sense. I think that it was a veneer, mahogany veneer. So I think the filler must have not been kiln dried and was sap. So I was like, look, you guys are about to pay us a bunch of money to paint this door. I'm not going to warranty it.
Right.
Door. So months go by as a new custom door is built. So the last time we had a conversation as to what the paint schedule was for that door was probably 3 months ago. And so, and one door is solid blue. Of the 3, the 2 we had finished, one door was solid blue and one door was two-tone. So he kind of had like a 50-50 chance as to what he was going to get if he got it right or not. Which is not how you want to go about painting doors.
Especially the way you paint doors.
Especially when it's thousands of dollars and lots of hours. So Sunday, we're delivering them Monday so that they can be installed Tuesday. Sunday, I'm loading them up, and I notice, I'm like, oh man, that door is all blue. Something, I called the GCM. I texted him, and he's like, isn't it a bit late for you to be texting me this question? I was like, is it supposed to be two-toned? And like, I knew the answer. And I'm like, yeah, it needs to be two-tone. And like,
you're like, cool. Yeah, that's what I thought.
But I see per day.
Yeah, exactly. Super humid in the shop today.
Yes. So we got it done. But now going forward, Dan is not going to start a project. He's going to say, I'm not starting this if you don't give me the clipboard with the work order that says, what am I doing? What's the scope? What's the product? What's the colors? And are there any notes? Because like 4 hours later, after finding that out, I found out that the cabinet job that I was delivering that morning was supposed to have the holes filled. And,
yeah, I heard that at the beginning. That sucks.
Yeah. And that one is, I think I told Dan, but I don't know. And like, that's not a way to, I can't look at Dan and be like, I told you. You're like, yeah. No, that's ridiculous.
Way to take ownership for the problem there, Zach.
Lots of growth, lots of working on myself. But
so how do you know, like, if you've got doors, miscellaneous stuff around the shop, how do you connect what door to what clipboard?
So we, in T-sheets where we track our hours, every job, like, I enter every job in. So generally by the address, and generally by like what we're doing. So it'd be like the address, garage doors. So that's going to be like the name of the job will be, 100 Mount Vernon doors. And then they'll just be able to track that all the way through, and they'll know.
But I mean, on the physical door, like, how do you know, like, this door is blue and this door is yellow, and they don't say anything? Like, do you like put stickers on them or Post-its? Like, that's more.
I think you just brought up a massive improvement to our system. I can put pictures on our work orders of the raw doors.
I like that.
I think House Call Pro, which is what I use for my CRM, which I highly underutilize. I'm gonna try to be creating work orders from my estimates from House Call Pro. You take pictures and upload them, so that's a really good point. Because again, maybe at 4 people in the shop, even my new system works. But what happens when there's even more, and I don't have a picture of which door goes where? So yeah, I think I'm gonna have to institute pictures, or because you can't always label everything all the time.
Yeah, I've been having that problem with like custom order cabinet doors, where I ordered from a couple factories doors with no bores, and they'll just put a bore in it because it's the only place they can put like the serial number, and then it shows up, and I'm like, then I gotta like fill the stupid door and paint the back of it because they'll bore it either way, whether I want it bored or not.
No way. Yeah, we started using the stamps on our refinish jobs, and stamping the edge of the door that you don't see. If it's like a lower, then we stamp the bottom. If it's an upper, we stamp the top. Because we were writing like with marker on like the cup inside the cup for the hinge. But
yeah, exactly.
When we just did a project where we found out this thing gonna work, and we had hinges that were like, the technical term, I'm not sure what it is, but they just screwed right to it, and they were small.
Yeah.
And so you're like, well, what are we going to do? And the stamps actually end up working pretty well.
And if you do a paint job on a cabinet, are you touching all of the hanging of doors and all that, or that's not you?
So we're not going to like hang them for the first time. We'll take them off and put them back as we found them.
Okay.
And I agreed to drill holes on a job once, not too long ago. It was an absolute nightmare, and I did buy a jig, and maybe we'll add it
for like poles and stuff.
Yeah. But really, like, I want you guys to do that. Like, you guys do that all the time. You know how to do it. You're precise. You have just like, I don't know.
Don't oversell it. We mess that up all the time.
That's true.
Why do you think I'm such a good painter?
One of the last ones I did, the wrong spot, and I was like, oh, okay, it's not just me. But painters don't know how to read a measuring tape nearly as well as a carpenter does. I still struggle with those little dashes and what means what.
Yeah, I if I'm honest, like, I have to still like work back and forth off of half.
Yeah.
Less than, that's 3/8. More than, that's 5/8.
That to this day, it gets me every time. So I'll like make a mark and be like, oh, it's this dash, or it's 7 from the left.
Exactly.
That's why I stay in my lane now, and it's easier for me to just go, you know what, I need you to hire like the next one that we're delivering, and really pretty much going forward, like, I need you to hire a carpenter to put the holes in.
Right.
Mostly because I don't want the liability.
Yeah.
Anything I can pass off will.
Can't charge enough for that either.
No, you can't. I mean, when I looked at it, I ended up charging. What I charged to put the holes in was a significant sum, and I'm like, I might as well. They can pay someone that's really good. That's.
Yeah. You're like, I'm charging you like I'm going to repaint every one of these doors.
Seriously. I mean, we were, it was just, we didn't have a jig. So, things got messed up, and, we'll just bore the hole a little bigger so you have some play. Which, looks good when you leave, but it's not really the solution.
Yeah. It happens.
It does. Do you have more than an hour?
Yeah, I got time.
Okay.
Doesn't it kick us out in an hour?
Yeah, it kicks us off in an hour, so otherwise I was going to like rush through because we have like questions that we ask everybody. Um,
Oh, all right.
we don't need to rush to them.
I'm
So tell
six
me,
foot five.
what's that?
I said I'm 6'5". Is that the question?
What's your sign?
Cancer, long walks on the beach. I like
Oh,
strong men named Zack.
hey, me too. And I'm a can. Look at that.
What? Are you my age?
I'm 34.
34. Close enough.
How old are
Close
you?
enough. 31. I think I'm 31. Or 30, 31 or 32, something like that.
Accelerated through life fast, huh? With because of homeschooling, you think?
Well, when you buy a house in 2006, that's pay 150 grand too much for it, and then rent it to Section 8 heroin addicts. You grow up fast. You grow up hard.
Streets of Jersey.
That was in Connecticut, actually, Farmington, Connecticut.
What part of Jersey are you now?
I am in Lyttonhurst, New Jersey, so it's like 8 miles west of Manhattan.
Okay.
If you've ever seen like MetLife Stadium, Giant Stadium, that's like I pretty much live inside that.
So there's a good high end market there.
Oh yeah, yeah. We're smack dab in the middle. There's plenty of money spattered around from people commuting into the city, and yeah, you have to. I'm in as cheap a place as I can afford, put it that way, but it ain't that cheap.
Can you tell me about I'm interested in Lazarus. I'm interested in like your experiences with other paint contractors, because a lot of paint contractors are watching from my end.
Yeah.
And that, like, what is a GC looking for? How do you get in with a good GC if you're a painter? And like, how did you find and then decide to bring in-house painting?
So, yeah. So first off, painting was always sort of in-house because I was coming from a painting background. And then when I hired my first legitimate employee outside of the painting company, the guy's name was Charlie. He could paint, but he wasn't a professional painter. So there was a little bit more painting falling on my shoulders. Then I hired Brian, who's been with me the longest now. And he also could paint, but wasn't a professional painter. And, you know, as far as production, when it comes to painting, you know, you need some time in on a brush to produce a lot of work quickly. And so then I was just doing a lot of painting, and on top of running the business and doing everything else, it was, you know, kind of slowing me down. And I had Charlie and Brian. They've done a little bit of spray work on the trim and stuff, but they certainly weren't to a point where they were surpassing me because they just weren't doing enough painting. So we were sort of dappling last year with subcontracting out painting, and we subbed it, and it was sort of a conversation about, we want this sprayed and we want that sprayed, and some of it was sprayed and some of it was done with a whiz roller, and I was just like, it's not really what I wanted, but it was just sort of like, and I was kind of put in the position where I like, my prices aren't high enough where I could just hire you. There are people who do really, really good work in my area, but I couldn't afford to just get them in on all of my jobs. So I needed to find someone who was like good, but not offering like the blue ribbon service. And then I ran into Lazarus and a Sherwin-Williams once, and he was just like, "Oh, I recognize your voice. I've seen you on Instagram." So I had him bid a job before, but the homeowner decided they wanted to go with like a cheaper finish because he bid HVLP. So unfortunately, I didn't use him for that because we would have made more progress if I did now. But anyway, he did this job, and it was a pretty complex job because the cabinets came unfinished, and it was a black, and he did a clear over it. And I was just like, I don't even know what the heck this guy's doing, but the work was crazy good. And so when he started working for me, Brian was just about to go on maternity leave or paternity leave, and then I was going on paternity leave. So Lazarus kind of got dumped on with like, here's this $500,000 project. Why don't you run this on top of everything else? So he he kind of started the dialogue about like we are heading towards painting, and he's like, "What do you want to do with the finish?" Because we had a, like kind of a conversation like, "Are we using your equipment? Are we using my equipment?" Because my equipment was like a little jankety for the type of level he wanted to do. So then we started, talk to you about getting the Kremlin, and then he basically just figured that all himself because I was trying to be home with the baby, and then he I don't know exactly how, but he found that Malesi product because we were trying to match the cabinet finish, and I sort of just let him do what he wanted to and trusted that he'd figure it out. And then when I saw the finish, it was just like, holy moly! It was like nothing I'd ever had on my jobs. And now I'm just so happy about it because it's so rewarding when I've been killing myself painting for years to see like a better finished quality come out, and I really just didn't have the interest or the time to figure out how to get it there. And there's not a lot of painters in my area that are using those products anyway that are out of a cabinet shop, so I'm pretty excited about it. And I think that the next kitchen we're actually doing a site finish on a new inset cabinet job. So I'm excited to like kind of get in the groove, and I could see heading in the direction of maybe getting a booth and doing more stuff in house, just because like once you see that finish, it's hard to kind of go backwards on it. It's nice.
So I think I saw you spraying trim packages with the Malaysia. Am I right?
Yeah.
That to me is the ultimate and the high end. It's what we sell to clients. We're starting to get a few more people that are interested. I have some bids out for some projects like that. We've done one where the kitchen cabinets and all the trim are exactly the same product. And I always tell people, like, that's high end. You want custom. Don't have the cabinet people paint your cabinets. And then you give me a sample board and we get it color matched in a different product, and then we apply it to the trim. It's never going to be identical. And it will always, even if you don't necessarily see it when you walk in the room, you'll feel it. So
I've had that exact problem on my last two high-end kitchens. And we painted it. Lazarus painted that kitchen 3 times. The whole coffered ceiling, because it was too gray, it was too white, it was nightmare.
Now, hey, we're going to give you exactly the same product on all surfaces. That's custom.
Mm-hmm.
And the more we're selling that, there's a couple GCs that are interested in that idea because it helps elevate their level of quality. But there's some drawbacks, right? Like, okay, well, now schedule's going to be affected because before that cabinet was being painted someplace else, right, doing work on the project. Well, now I need you to give me 2 weeks while I paint that cabinet set that's in place. So that's kind of been the rub is, yeah, maybe it's a little more expensive and it's definitely more time, but the payoff is amazing. And then if you have cabinets come in and something's a little off, like, hey, Jim, put screws in it, do whatever you got to do, because we're going to be patching, filling, priming, and it's all going to be seamless. So I love that.
Yeah. I think the nice thing about having it in-house is I'm actually saving a significant amount of money on my cabinet package. I think it's not a big kitchen, but it was something like $6,000 in savings to get those cabinets unfinished. And instead of me having to worry about pre-finished corbels and this stupid piece of filler that they want to charge me $120 for, and it's just a stick of maple, now I could add all these crazy features to this kitchen. I'm not worried about how much crown molding do I need to get, because I can just get that stock at the lumber yard, and I'm not trying to pre-assemble this pre-finished thing and put the fancy glue. I can fill that nasty miter full of Bondo if I wanted to, and it's going to look great. And like you said, this kitchen, when you walk into it now, so it's the whole ceilings the same color as the cabinets, all the windows, the pocket doors, and it's just like it's the first time you just want to touch the casing. You want to touch the doors, and we did the little banquette area, and the kids are just like touching everything. So I think we used like a relatively inexpensive paint on the walls, and it's all like smudged, and I might try like a Scuff X on that, or else we'll have to tile it. But unless you have a better suggestion. But the the trim is hard.
Before they kick me off, I'm gonna stop, and then we'll start back up, and we'll keep talking about this because this is awesome.
See you.
All right.